the field nobody wanted. When I first moved to Maple Ridge Estates, I had no idea I'd be walking into a neighborhood that worshipped its homeowners association more than common sense. My small house sat at the edge of the development, right next to a large, empty field that had been left untouched for decades. It was wild, covered in tall grass, dandelions, and buzzing with bees, but to me, it was perfect. The field technically wasn't part of the HOA's territory, though the HOA president, Karen Whitmore, acted like it was her personal kingdom. Everyone knew her. Perfectly pressed khakis, clipboard glued to her hand, and a permanent scowl that could sour milk. The rumors about the field had been floating for years. Some said the HOA wanted to buy it and turn it into a community park, but they could never raise the funds. When the property finally went up for sale, I made my move. Quietly, I bought it outright. A week later, the sold sign went up. By evening, Karen was on my doorstep. "Good evening, Mr. Turner," she said, voice sugary but sharp. "I assume there's been some misunderstanding. That field belongs to the HOA's expansion plan." I smiled. "No misunderstanding. I bought it last week. It's mine now." Her smile evaporated. "That land affects our community aesthetic. You'll need to coordinate with the HOA on any changes." "Not part of your HOA, Karen." She blinked hard, as if I'd spoken blasphemy. "Everything around here falls under our visual uniformity code." I pointed to the property line. "That's your code. This side. My land. My rules." Her lips tightened. "We'll see about that." And boy, did she mean it. Within days, Karen began her campaign of concern. Letters appeared in my mailbox about unauthorized modifications. HOA members parked near the fence line to observe. A drone even buzzed overhead one afternoon, clearly sent to document my field. I didn't back down. Instead, I began planning what would soon become my counterattack, a project that would make sure Karen could never again treat that field like her backyard. I called my contractor and said, "How much for a 10-foot privacy wall right on the property line?" He laughed. "That'll block the HOA's view completely." I grinned. "Exactly, but I didn't know that wall would start an all-out neighborhood war." By the time the first concrete blocks arrived, Karen was already in full meltdown mode. It started with her standing at the property line, arms crossed, sunglasses perched like a crown of authority. "You can't do this, Mr. Turner." She barked as the delivery truck backed up. I waved from my porch. "Private property, Karen. Remember?" That only fueled her fury. She whipped out her phone, started snapping photos like she was documenting a crime scene. "This wall is a violation of community harmony. It's an eyesore." "Funny," I said, "because you won't be able to see it once it's up." By noon, I had 2 contractors laying the foundation. Karen called the HOA board, and within hours, 3 more neighbors joined her crusade. They stood behind the chain-link fence, muttering like angry pigeons while my guys worked. The next morning, I woke to find a bright orange notice taped to my front door. "Cease and desist construction pending HOA review." I laughed out loud. The HOA had no authority here. My field wasn't inside their jurisdiction, but that didn't stop them from acting like it was. Later that day, as the wall started to rise, Karen marched back over with a clipboard and a man I didn't recognize. He introduced himself as Gregory, HOA legal advisor. His suit looked like it had been pressed by fear itself. "Mr. Turner," he began, "this wall poses potential drainage and safety hazards. It could impact neighboring property lines. It's 10 feet tall and exactly 2 inches inside my boundary." I replied. "I've had it surveyed." Karen interjected, "We're not allowing this." "You don't have to," I said calmly. "It's not your land." Karen's face turned the color of a stop sign. "You are destroying the neighborhood's aesthetic." I turned to the contractor and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Make sure that wall's solid all the way up. I don't want anyone peeking over." That did it. Karen screamed, actually screamed, in front of half the block. She stormed off, yelling about city permits and calling the county. I didn't doubt she'd try, but I had everything squared away. The county inspector had already approved my plans. That night, she sent out an emergency HOA email. I know because a neighbor named Sam, the only reasonable one among them, forwarded it to me. The subject line read, "Urgent, wall threatens Maple Ridge values." It went on about community image, property value decline, and something about unsanctioned fortifications. That was the night I decided to make the wall more than just a barrier. It was going to be a statement. By the third week, my 10-foot wall was halfway up, a gray monolith that loomed over the HOA's manicured lawns. It cast a long shadow across Karen's backyard, literally and figuratively. At first, the neighborhood treated it like a crime scene. Every morning, a new cluster of residents gathered to watch, whisper, and glare. Someone even brought lawn chairs, as if the construction were entertainment. Karen, of course, was their ringleader. She held emergency HOA meetings twice a week, right in her driveway, complete with folding tables, lemonade, and printed handouts labeled Operation Stop the Wall. It was both ridiculous and, honestly, a little impressive. But instead of backing down, I doubled down. When the contractor finished the final layer of concrete, I called an artist friend, Mia. She was known around town for her massive nature murals, colorful scenes of forests, wildlife, and rivers that seemed to breathe life into dull buildings. "Think you can make this wall something beautiful?" I asked her. She smiled. "You mean a giant canvas to annoy your HOA president?" "Absolutely." Within days, she began painting. Huge green vines climbed across the concrete, wrapping around painted trees and wildflowers. Birds soared across the top in brilliant blues and golds. It was breathtaking, especially from my side. From Karen's, though, just a tall, blank wall. She lost her mind. I heard her shouting one morning, "He's painting illegal graffiti. We're calling the police." The officers came, took one look at the property deed, and told her politely to have a nice day. I think that moment broke something in her, because after that, she went on the offensive. A week later, I found trash bags dumped at my gate. Then someone scattered grass seed over my gravel driveway. One night, my sprinklers mysteriously turned on at 2 a.m., except I didn't own sprinklers. It was petty war, HOA style. But something unexpected started happening. Neighbors who weren't in the HOA, people living just outside its reach, started visiting. They'd stop, look at the mural, and tell me how much they loved it. Some even took pictures. A local news blogger wrote a piece titled "The Wall That Art Built." Suddenly, I wasn't just the guy who built the wall. I was the guy who stood up to HOA tyranny. The wall became a symbol of independence, and that, more than anything, drove Karen insane. Because now, it wasn't just about control. It was about pride, and she wasn't about to lose quietly. By the time fall rolled around, the 10-foot wall had become famous in our county. People drove by to see the HOA wall, snapping selfies and tagging it online. Karen hated every second of it. Her once tight grip over the neighborhood was slipping. Meetings grew tense. Homeowners whispered about freedom from fees, and a few even started questioning why the HOA needed to control everything from mailbox color to lawn length. Karen blamed me, of course. One afternoon, I came home to find her pacing by the property line, muttering into her phone. The moment she saw me, she snapped. "This has gone far enough. Mr. Turner, you've humiliated this community." I shrugged. All I did was build a wall. Her voice cracked with fury. "You've turned my neighborhood into a circus." "That's funny," I said. "It's not your neighborhood anymore. Karen, people are starting to see through you." That must have been the final straw. That night, around midnight, my security cameras caught movement, someone climbing the fence with a flashlight. I checked the footage from my phone and couldn't believe it. Karen, in her robe and slippers, standing at the base of the wall with a can of spray paint. She scrawled "eyesore" across one panel before slipping, dropping the can and landing in the grass with a thud. I called the cops, not out of spite, but concern. When the officers arrived, she was still sitting there, dazed and furious, muttering, "It's ruining everything. It's ruining everything." The next morning, the police report went public. Local media swarmed. The HOA board held an emergency meeting, and by evening, Karen was removed as president. When I saw her packing her car a few days later, she avoided my gaze. But I walked over anyway. "Leaving so soon?" I asked gently. She sighed, eyes tired. "You won, Mr. Turner." "No one had to win," I said. "I just wanted to be left alone." She hesitated. For the first time, her voice softened. "You'll regret building that wall someday." I looked back at it, the mural glowing in the sunset. The vines, the birds, the freedom it represented. "Maybe," I said, "but at least it's mine." She drove away without another word. A month later, The new HOA president sent me a friendly letter thanking me for bringing creative energy to the community. They even voted to repaint the inside of their clubhouse with the same mural style. The wall that once divided us had somehow united everyone else. Karen never returned. But every spring, wildflowers bloom along the base of that wall, bright, defiant, and free, just like the field.